tell me your full name, age, and where you grew up.
My name is Richard Wayne Strickland. I'm 72 years old, and I grew up in Bristol, Florida.
Bristol, Florida. And you were real involved in athletics as a young person, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Tell us, I know your childhood is a long time ago and encompasses a lot of things, but in terms of leadership, what would be some things that you could point to from your childhood or from growing up that you think shaped you into the person that you are and into the successful leader that you have become?
Well, I played quarterback on the football team, and I knew at that time that a lot of people were depending on me, and I think that had a lot to do with shaping.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about how athletics led into college, which ended up putting you in your leadership field, but tell us how athletics kind of got you where you are today in terms of college and then career.
Well, I played baseball in high school and football, and I got a scholarship to Chipola Junior College, and then I walked on at Jacksonville University and played there for 2 years, and then I got a job coaching at Terry Parker. And so I've had various head coaching jobs.
I guess you could say your first heavy or real important leadership job would have been quarterback on the football team, and then you mentioned you got your first coaching job at Terry Parker. What was that like to step into an official role, being responsible for the win or the loss of the team? How was that?
Well, looking back on it, I think I was probably too young to realize what was happening. I was just having fun with it.
So you didn't feel a whole lot of pressure? That's good. How was that, your first official role in leading a team from a coaching standpoint? Success, failure, how would you kind of rate that first?
Well, we lost 4 ball games, and we went to the state championship my first year, so.
That's pretty good. Okay. All right, so moving on, I want to ask you about the 5 kind of categories of successful leadership. The first one is called model the way. When you think about being a leader, what does the term model the way mean to you?
I think the leader of any group or any group of people has to carry himself like he wants others to be.
So set the example.
Right.
Okay. All right, the second one is inspire a shared vision. When you hear that term, what does that mean to you?
Well, I always tell this story. When I became principal of the high school, I don't know where this came from or just popped in my head. I interviewed every teacher on the staff the year before I took over, and I wrote down everything they said, and then I went by myself. I got 10 commonalities between all they said, and then I formulated 10 things that they said we need to do better. And then I told them what those 10 things were, and I told them, I said, now, this is what we're going to do. Now, I think that they had ownership into the process, and I think they had, that wasn't leadership, but it was a form of it.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, now, we're going to change this maybe next year. But now, as far as this year, this is 10 things we're going to work on. Mm-hmm. And I told them also, I said, now, this is kind of corny, but I told them, I said, now, what we're going to do is these 10 things, and I'm going to run the railroad.
Mm-hmm. It's these 10 things, we're committed, and that's what we're going to do.
Right. Now, we may change it next year, and I had an interview with every teacher.
That's amazing. That took a long time, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it was worth it.
Mm-hmm. That is, I think, the definition of inspiring a shared vision. Okay, the third category is called challenge the process. When you hear that, what does that make you think of in terms of leadership? Challenge the process.
I think you got to challenge somebody to become something they don't know they can be.
Mm-hmm. And also, maybe when you came in as principal, you might not do things the way people prior to you have been done. So you challenged kind of the way it had been done, right?
Right.
And if you could pinpoint a couple things that would speak to that, about what things that you had to challenge in order to make sure that leadership went forward, what would that be? A couple things.
Well, I never shall forget, we were last one year in writing skills on the test. Last.
In the state?
And I went to my English teacher and I said, look, this thing gonna get it. I don't care what you gotta do, where you gotta go, how much money you gotta spend, but we're gonna do better next year. And she came up with a plan. We had a pep rally the day before we had the test. We fed everybody breakfast. In other words, we made it important that they take the test.
All right. The fourth one is enable others to act. And this is all about kind of the relationship side, some of the relationship side of being a leader. When you hear the term enable others to act, what does that make you think of?
I think it goes back to where you carry yourself. You got to instill upon them to want to do. Mm-hmm. And that, in my opinion, that becomes like you carry yourself, like you serious about what you want done.
Mm-hmm. And I know that I've heard you say before, I know that you're a big fan of letting people do their job. Yeah. And to me, when I hear that enable others to act, I think, and I know that you've done this, and that is you hire somebody to do a job, you let them do their job.
That's right.
But also this goes back to when you mentioned in the previous one about challenging the process, when you told the English teachers, I don't care where you got to go, what you got to do, what it costs, we got to do better. In other words, as a leader, you provided them what they needed to do their job.
Well, yes. I think a leader, a true leader, once he lays out the plan, once the plan is in place, then the leader, which in my case was the principal, becomes a cheerleader.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. All right, and the last category here is encourage the heart. And this is another part about the relationship side. When you hear the term encourage the heart and you think about the relationship that you have with your coworkers and your teachers at the high school when you were principal, what does that remind you of when you hear that, encourage the heart?
Well, a couple of things. In other words, when parents came to see a teacher interview, as far as I was concerned, to the parent, the teacher was always right, no matter what. And now, needless to say, we might talk later.
You mean with the teacher?
Yeah, after the parents are gone.
You had your teachers back.
Right.
Yeah.
And they knew it.
Yeah. I think that may be the single most important thing. What do you think?
I think it is.
If there's not a good relationship there, it's kind of hard to lead.
Well, I'm proud to say that in the 16 years I was there, we had very, very, very low turnover.
They enjoyed working under your leadership.
Well, one would think so.
Okay, there's one more thing that I want to get to here, and this goes back to the enabling others to act. It's just a little more specific question here. It says, what actions did you take as a leader to encourage those under you to work together, to work collaboratively, to improve performance by strengthening others?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is every Monday morning we had a faculty meeting, and I put out a sheet of what was happening that week. So what I'm saying is, I think it's very important that everybody is on the same page. Therefore, that encourages, in my opinion, the teachers to do well. And plus, I talked about it many times that the more you encourage other people to do, other people being the students, to do better, the better you do.
As a whole, as a team.
Right.
Okay, well, in closing, I'm going to give you the last word. If you could speak to an up-and-coming leader, let's just say maybe somebody maybe stepping into a role as an administrator, what would be your advice to help them succeed as a leader in that position? I mean, I know that you've said a lot of things. What would be your kind of closing advice that you would give them?
Well, I've been asked that question before. My answer was, if you make a decision and you are, 50% of them gonna like it. 50% of them not gonna like it. So do what the hell you think you should do.
Do what you think's right. All right. Well, I appreciate you speaking with me.
Thank you.